Our biggest heroism is surviving in the forest with a 1.5-year-old baby. The only thing that I grabbed as I was running out, because I knew my mother had a baby that was 1.5 years old on her hands, didn't even have a pair of shoes on his feet. And so as I was jumping, so I grabbed I don't know how to describe, a facele. That was a
shawl
that the farm women wear,
over the head like a babushka.
Not only over the head, but then they tie it to the back, and it's usually made from a wool type
for warmth.
Warmth. And so I grabbed it and I ran with it and I brought it into the forest. And that's the first winter. That what saved my brother's life. We came into the forest. That woman to whom that little shawl or big shawl belonged also escaped, and she was there. And she comes up and she says, "This is mine. Give it back to me." I said, "Where did you leave it?" I said, "You left it in the. Go and get it." In the ghetto. Where would she? She says, "No, it's mine and belongs to me." And she made the big do. So my father, and he says, "Listen, it is true. I know it's yours. But it was my daughter who grabbed it and brought it out of the ghetto here. And as you can see, we have a baby that has nothing, not even a pair of shoes on his feet. And my wife has to carry him all the time on his hand. How about we cut it in half? And my mother wrapped the baby and carried him in that half shawl on her back or on her front, whichever it was needed, for at least the whole first winter. So this is what happened in the first blockade. We heard shooting from one direction, so we ran in the opposite. We didn't know what to do. And we are running in the snow, deep up to your knees in snow. And we ran like this all morning. And we were already at the point my father had a heart condition. He could not move anymore. And so he stopped at one point and he told my mother, "You take the kids and try to run. I cannot take another step. I feel that my heart will give out."
Yeah.
And as we stopped for that one moment, we see something laying in the snow. And who was it? One of the partisans who was wounded in a previous action, and his colleagues could not take him, so they left him laying there in the snow. And my father saw he had a gun. And so my father came up to him and he says, please shoot us, because the Germans were so close. They were going in a chain and we could see them. My father begged the partisans should shoot him because he said, when they're so close, they will catch us alive. The partisan said, "Look, you can see that I cannot move. That's why they have left me here." So the partisan told my father, he says, "I'm sorry, they left me with one bullet. And that's for me," he says. And he didn't want to be captured alive. So what he did, he started to sing out loud Russian patriotic songs to give him the courage to take his own life, And so all of a sudden we hear him sing. It was a very popular song, and we could hear him, but we couldn't see him. And then we heard a shot. So we knew that he decided to take his life. And when he shot himself, the Germans heard it. And what they have done, they broke the chain, they were going one after another, and they started running into the direction where they heard the shot from.
Sure.
Scary. And when we laying under the bushes there saw what was happening, that we have a break in the chain, you understand? So we were able to crawl out on all fours, so to say, behind the chain, and that's how. And they did not return there. They were closing in closer and closer, to see how many people they can capture. What this farmer did, we arrived, you cannot imagine what we looked like. Emaciated, after a typhoid fever, walking a day and a night, and it took us so long because we were so weak.
Yeah.
Exhausted.
And we would walk a few steps and we'd have to stop and rest again. And we finally arrived because we had the name of a farmer that he would show us where the Jews are hiding there. And when he saw us, he cried like a baby. Oh. He made a bath. We didn't see a bath a whole winter. He heated his bath. He made everyone go into that bath and wash themselves, And meanwhile, while we were washing, his wife was preparing a big pot of potatoes and a big thing of sour milk. Here you don't eat it, but there in Belarus, this is that's what you eat, most farmers. And he put us all around the table with bread, and he fed us all.
He gave you a feast.
Yeah. Not only feast, and what about, we were infested with lice.
Sure.
So that hot bath.
Got rid of those.
Yeah.
It was something. And he said, you need rest. So first you rest up in my forest. This piece of the forest is mine. So he put us in his forest for a couple of days and brought us food there. And then a couple of days later, he sent one of his sons to bring us to that other place where those Jewish people are hiding. And once we got there, our luck has changed. Mine is a story of extraordinary luck because I'm a survivor who survived with my parents, don't forget. And most of my siblings, one was killed by the Nazis, and a second one who was taken away for labor, we didn't know, escaped. And after the war, we found him. So this is extraordinary luck.
Yes,
And it makes such a difference after the war when you're left young kids and you had someone to guide you. I remember I used to go around and I used to say, I hate America, I hate England, I hate the French, They could have done something to help us and nobody has done. They didn't care. They were so happy to get rid of us. And my father heard me speak like this. And so one day he called me over and he says, I don't like the way you talk. He says, come sit down, I have to have a conversation with you. He says, we were victims of hatred. Did you like it? I said, no, I hated it. So he says, then why would you do something like this to others? He says, hatred will destroy your life. Don't ever think about it. Use your everything, what you have, your talents, your whole being in an opposite direction. Try kindness. Try caring for other people and set an example. Not want ever to hear the word hate out of your mouth because it will destroy you. But to live with hatred in your heart towards no matter who it is an awful thing to do. And I'm so grateful that I had someone to teach me right from wrong. I tell you, there's some people who are angels. But we're paying them back now to their grandchildren and great-grandchildren for the kindness of their elders that were so kind to us. I'm sorry, I always, interesting. The suffering does not bring out emotions in me, the kindness of other people. Yeah. When the Soviet Union was still existing and it was almost impossible to send anything, we used to send them parcels. We used to pay more in tariffs because the Russians didn't want us to send, so that they would have, like boots and warm winter coats and things like that. We didn't want them to think that we have forgotten. I feel we need to celebrate those who were kind.
Yes.
And so that others can learn from them, that kindness goes a long way, in helping others.